Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki. And on Street Talk, we deal to political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now tonight,
Dennis Burnside.
Paget Maynard.
Okay, man, we got a whole lot to cover. But again, it kind of, and I haven't said what, but the thing that's happening in Haiti now is really, it's just really, I don't know why every few years we get something in Haiti like we got now.
Well, you shouldn't be surprised. You have a nation of people who every time they have a democratically elected leader has seen that leader either forcibly removed or assassinated.
Okay.
And then they put in puppets that represent the Western interest, and they rule with an iron fist and intimidation and violence. And it's become such a cauldron of violence and distrust and hatred that now a new prime minister that was installed by the United States and its minions has been deemed just unacceptable. He's regarded as a people of Haiti as illegitimate. Of course, we don't get that perspective reading Western papers or watching Western news. It's just they got a bunch of gangsters there running around with guns and they're threatening people and they're upsetting people, and so it's a big problem. What you have is you have, for lack of a better term, militias comprised of patriots who want to run the country themselves, and the violence and the dysfunction that we're seeing primarily is in Port-au-Prince. If you go out to the countryside, things are normal. It's in the big city like Port-au-Prince where you see this. So, we do see this periodically. We've seen this since 1804, since they had the temerity to overthrow their slave masters and start their own free country. And I think if anyone's surprised by the turmoil now, I'm surprised you're surprised.
And I noticed, I was watching something a few days ago, and they were showing that these guns are coming from the U.S.
Of course they are.
No surprise.
And the ammo,
either.
and the targets.
Yeah,
And the paymasters,
coming from right here in the U.S., man. They were showing that they were showing this warehouse where, a lot of stuff are being shipped from the U.S. there, but then a lot of stuff looks like something, but bottom of it, they got these guns, man,
That's an old trick, man. Forever and a day, people been doing that kind of stuff.
And then they got this one guy, he's from Haiti, and he's been working as a person who checked the shipment out before they go to Haiti. And he said he'd been doing it for 30 years. And they was checking his stuff, the stuff that he had already, said, okay, this goes to Haiti. Right. But wasn't anything in the stuff he's sending, but so many of the other ones though, so many other people are sending stuff there and guns in the bottom of it,
Yeah, it's been going on. You see, the American did some evacuation of the Americans, but like you said,
they got the sports writer Mitch Albom out of there.
Okay.
Yeah, he was at his orphanage, which he's run for years, and he removed himself and his spouse and a couple of aides, but he regrettably had to leave the children behind that he was taking care of. What's going to become of them on their day-to-day nutritional needs, on their day-to-day educational needs?
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to a friend of mine who is from Haiti.
Okay.
So I was checking to see if her mom is okay, for she's still down there.
Mm-hmm.
But she said she is not near the confusion. She's out in the rural district, so she's okay.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
And you, of course, if you didn't have someone that you knew who had contact with someone there, or if you read or watched Western media sources, you think the entire country's in a conflagration and it's all violence and turmoil. There's a power vacuum there.
Mm-hmm.
And the power vacuum has been created by the unwillingness of the Haiti rank and file people, the everyday people, the proletariat, from going along with this scheme again, where you have a Western placed puppet who rules at the convenience of Major League Baseball and other manufacturers who go there and they use near slave labor to produce their products.
He stepped down, though.
Well, he was forced out. So that's why I said you have a vacuum now. There's nothing there except for the militias. And, of course, they're not called militias. They're called gangs.
Yeah.
Now, here, what we saw on January 6th, those weren't gangs.
Oh, no, those are
patriots. Those are patriots, yeah. So, it's a nomenclature that you have to watch and pay close attention to when they call certain people by certain terms. For example, when you had Hamas take power in the Gaza Strip, the first thing the Western media said was they're a bunch of terrorists. They're terrorists. They're gangsters.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out that when they had a free and fair election, Hamas got over 80% of the vote there by the Gaza people who didn't want the prime minister that was installed for them. But the United States and its proxies called that an illegitimate election because this guy intimidated people. So these guys intimidate people, so we don't recognize
What do we have
So
here
again,
now?
you've got to watch when they start calling somebody a terrorist or a gang member or anything but a child of God. We know there's an agenda there.
Yeah.
But aren't we having the same thing here now? Isn't this man Donald Trump threatening everybody?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what he did with Cheney, Dick Cheney's daughter, the former congresswoman. I mean, that was a terrorist threat.
Yes.
He threatened her with death.
Yes.
And he goes out on his trail and he says, if I'm not elected, we're going to have a bloodbath in this country.
Oh, yes.
Those are terroristic threats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if that happened with a candidate in Haiti or Venezuela or Niger, which has kicked out the U.S. military, or any of the other melanated country, insert your favorite one here, they would be, oh, my God, there's a terrorist. We've got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Because American people are reliably apathetic and ignorant. They don't want to know.
No.
So they don't.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That's why I hate to interrupt you, man, but think back to 16. Think back to the number of well-meaning people, good people, pay their taxes, raise their children, et cetera, who decided they were going to vote for Trump because they wanted something different. I want a businessman in there.
Yeah.
If they had ever read David K. Johnston or any of the other New York investigative journalists, or if we had a real investigative journalist apparatus in CBS, NBC, ABC like we used to, you'd have known that Trump has been a charlatan since the 70s. He's not a successful businessman.
No.
He's a
and you must follow Trump.
He's a thief.
Yeah.
You
He's
must
a con
follow
man.
him to understand
And it's well
business.
documented that he is.
Yes.
But you had 53% of the people who voted said, "I'm gonna throw my weight behind Trump."
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. In the states that he won during the Electoral College, he got 8 million fewer than Hillary, but he won in key states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, et cetera, by people who said, "You know what? It's about time we put a businessman."
Dennis,
in."
Yeah.
Now
He
that
didn't
would
win-
be
he
like
didn't win in
putting
Michigan.
me in a contest where I had to swim a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can swim. I can swim from about here to that wall over there. After that, I need a rope.
Yeah. But, the thing is that we've got these fools in the U.S. And right now, you got Biden doing everything he can, to try to get things going, and look at all the things he's done, but still, you got people out here saying, "Oh, I'm voting for Trump." I mean, here's a man who hasn't done anything but saying what he's going to be another dictator if he get back into office.
But you still, Ahmad, they have their First Amendment right. They got to stick to that. This is what the Constitution gives them. But they don't see that their rights could end where mine begin.
Yes. All of this.
Hey, man, every year you have an election. Every year. I mean, every 4 years you have a presidential election. Mm-hmm. Every 2 years you have a House election. Every 6 years you have a Senate election, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can always put a microphone to someone who's ill-read, ignorant, doesn't know the issues, but is impressed by something that is other than relevant, and find them justifying a vote behind someone. Don't pay attention to that, man.
Well,
because if I wanted to, I could go all around Lansing and make it sound like Trump was going to win around here in a landslide by selecting the people that I want to interview, so they go on TV and frustrate guys like you. Hey, man, it's March. The election's in November. Trump might not even be eligible to run. Any damn sure ain't gonna win.
But wait a second. Hold on. Sorry. Back here, Dennis. You say he may not be able to run.
Yeah.
Look at this now. Here is this man threatening if he is not elected, if he doesn't win, he's going to have this bloodbath. And he said that is just the simple part of it. So he has other things in mind, if he hasn't yet expressed it, that will happen then. Then he come around and he say, well, if I'm not elected, this would be the last election you have here. What is he thinking? Is he going to blow up the place?
Hey, man, I know the answer to the question if I ask him, but did you ever play ball with some cats in your youth, man, growing up? Some people talk a whole lot of stuff, and that's what he's doing. The last time Trump called for his MAGA supporters to come out en masse and support him,
they didn't show up.
They didn't show up. And the time before that, they didn't show up. No. The thrill is gone, man. The bloom has come off the rose. Trump ain't going to win in the fall and I say if he's eligible to run, because I'm not talking about whether or not he's got people out here who support him.
We should have known that already.
I'm not talking about whether or not he can say certain things like I'm going to call for a bloodbath. I'm talking about if he's convicted of a felony.
Yeah, I know.
And he's got one trial that's coming up starting in April. And I don't see how he is going to be able to come out of that trial with anything other than a guilty verdict. And if that happens, either, the other three may be delayed past election. It's irrelevant. He's no longer eligible.
But you know what? The way I see some of these things going on, they probably wouldn't even throw his tail in the can right there and then. They're going to give him time.
Of course he'll appeal. Yeah.
Well, he could appeal from
in theory,
prison.
he could be elected from a jail cell.
Yes.
Because there's no prohibition against that.
Exactly.
But let's be real about it. He's still going to get those people out there who think he's a great businessman and they wear the MAGA shirts and they think that he's really the president. I mean, you have people now saying Trump's truly the president. Now Biden's just acting. You get all these weirdos, QAnon people.
Yes,
okay, lock them in.
With him.
Let him have them. That's not enough. He needs those swing voters who voted for him in 16, who wouldn't vote for him in 20, to come back. And I just don't see any compelling evidence that that's going to happen.
Well,
man, this is crazy.
Well, the thing is that we've got young people out here. Now, I was reading something last week before last, where the 18 to, what was it, 30 something, a lot of them saying they're going to vote for a third party. It's like, I mean, why throw your vote away? I mean, that's nothing, and got this lady up here in, what is it, Dearborn? Dearborn. She's talking about Palestinians gonna sit this one out. You know, it's like a lady was saying for 4 years. She said, well, we'll suffer for over 4 years.
You're talking about Japril Jayapal, the congresswoman out of
well, not she didn't say it, but it was a lady who was leading the march about 3 weeks ago said
God
it.
bless her.
You know,
God bless her. Hey man, look, that's her aunt, grandmother, cousin, mama, baby sister, over there getting blown up.
Yep.
By bombs and missiles and machine guns when they go out to get to a food truck that they haven't had any proper nutrition in 2 weeks, and they go out there to get in line, and then they're shot down by snipers with machine guns. Damn right I would support this administration if I was there.
Right.
But you also got to think, it's not the administration here at fault, you know.
Well,
Bibi knew.
Who arms?
Even just
who
before,
arms
right
Israel?
to the very morning.
Who arms Israel?
Huh?
Who arms Israel?
America.
Okay, in the story.
I know where you're coming from.
That's where it is.
But
If I'm Palestinian, I don't have a higher priority. Inflation doesn't faze me. Student loans don't faze me. Climate change doesn't faze me. These high-tech jobs that are coming in don't faze me. I've got priorities that have to do with life and death of my people.
I understand that.
And I don't blame Dearborn for what they do. I don't blame people like myself who voted in the primaries non-committed, because I need to see some movement. Now, obviously, when it comes down to Adolf Twitler versus Biden, I'm going to vote for Biden, and I'm going to vote. But he needs to know that there are people out here who support him, don't like what the hell they're seeing in Gaza.
They need to wake up.
Absolutely.
The Democrats, they need to wake up, get out there. I was hearing today that Biden is kind of dissatisfied with the way they want to run the campaign. He wants more activity.
well, they should. I mean, it's like instead of sitting around and not sitting around, but I was reading this paper, man, and he's got the vice president going around to different places and everything, but and I know some of the reason that her percentage is only 37%, but he has to look at all these different things, man, as working out here against him, instead of the time is going,
But you got to look at something too. We have some third party and on this kind of stuff, quite a few of them out there.
Yeah.
And that could help to make the drop in the polls as making it look like he's that low.
Who's viable?
Well,
Who's viable of the third parties?
I ain't talking about viable. I just
Well, you need to.
When I say that,
if you're going to do a critical analysis of why it's relevant,
what I'm looking at, Dennis,
who's viable of the third party? Just play along with
I
it.
don't know the people.
All right, you heard of Robert Kennedy, right?
Except for him.
Okay. Anybody else?
He's the one I know.
Okay.
I don't know the other
And that's
people.
the viable one. And who is he taking votes from?
Well,
Come on.
good question.
No, we know the answer.
Well,
we don't have to guess.
They said most of them are going to come from Biden.
No.
Well, they
No.
said most of them are coming from Biden.
I don't know what you're reading. What
That's
I'm
not
reading
it.
is
It's
most of them are
Trump.
coming at the expense of Trump. So why y'all tripping on?
Well,
I ain't tripping.
Well,
These polls that come out now, this analysis about third party defections away from the Democrat. I mean, man, it's scarce. It's stuff to sell commercials.
Well,
It's irrelevant.
well, I know what's his name from Connecticut.
Bernie Sanders.
No. From Connecticut. He was
I know
independent
you-
when he was
I
in
know
Congress.
I know you mean. Yeah, Hex. He was Gore's
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah.
Joe Lieberman.
Lieberman. He says that he's starting today. He's supposed to be getting this party thing together, and they gonna be running the party. And
Wait a minute, man. You mean to tell me Joe Lieberman's still alive?
he's
Oh.
yeah.
Joy is.
Oh.
Yeah, they getting the thing
So
together.
they done dug up a cadaver, and I'm supposed to worry about it?
Well, but that's what he's in
Well,
there.
actually, one of the things they're supposed to do, try to get all of these other individuals or little parties together.
Who's behind No Labels?
I don't know.
I tell you who's behind it. A couple key billionaires.
Okay.
What they're doing, man, is trying to discourage people from going to the polls and making them think it's futile and whatever I do doesn't matter anyway because they're going to, man, forget No Labels, forget these third party, forget these polls. Get your behind out there and take your neighbor with you in November and Biden will win.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stop worrying about this.
I ain't have to get worried about
sideways
that.
stuff, man.
And
He got mine already.
and you were saying something about we want to talk about.
Well, we need to talk about Gaza a little bit. Netanyahu is adamant that he's going into Rafah, and it looks like it's any day now.
Well, looked like they was already at the edge of it.
They've been on the edge of it for like 3 weeks.
For some time now.
Maybe
yeah.
a month now. And he's talking about, I've got to go in and finish the job. Finish the job, of
He
course.
better be careful he doesn't get
eliminating Hamas. That's what this is all about,
He
Patrick.
might be the one get finished.
He is very, very, very unpopular in Israel.
Yeah.
He's a criminal. He's
Yeah.
been adjudicated a criminal.
Right,
He
yes.
shouldn't be in office. And I think the reason why we saw a 6, 8, 12-hour delay before any response happened on October 7th when Hamas first started attacking was him saying we want this to be as bad as,
Yeah.
as it can.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past this to be
No.
a false flag
No.
operation. But even if it isn't, how do you justify removing your troops from each one of those communes where they usually kept 2,500 troops around and remove them all? And then you start getting reports of activities of these guys scouting the fences and moving around. It looks like they're rehearsing for an invasion, and you do nothing.
Right.
And then you wait 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, depending on the source. Some people are saying as long as 24 hours before you have any response from the IDF. And I'm supposed to sit back here and think that Netanyahu wasn't gaming this to keep himself in power?
But see that's what it is, man, and because he knows once he's out of power.
His ass is great.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I still can't understand this nonsense about because they're in office you can't do anything. That's ridiculous to me. If you could be the crook and steal and do all kind of thing in there, just like anybody else, you should be dragged into court, be convicted, prison.
Happens all the time. Just doesn't happen at the top of the pyramid.
Well-
It's not fair.
Okay, you were saying you had something to.
Well, we talked some of it already. One thing he came out with about the migrants. They are not people. They are animals. Donald Trump needs to stop, or maybe his children need to tell him, Dad, your mother was an immigrant. Your wife is an immigrant. Your grandfather was an immigrant. You are wrapped up in it.
All of his children except one mother was an immigrant. But you know what the concept that you're missing is? They're European immigrants. They're the ones they're the ones that Ellis Allen was made for.
Yes.
That's your tired, huddled masses that come on. We can't have enough of you. Now, if you start having them come over from the Congo,
you got
come
to,
over from Venezuela,
when you
Ecuador,
come from down south.
well, now we got a problem.
Yeah.
Now we got a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's one thing I'll tell them. All the Caucasians, stop a moment. Listen, go back and find out where your ancestors came from. Because every one of them is descendants of immigrants.
Well, but see, if you look at, man, from Missouri all the way to California, man, land was given to these people, man, these immigrants. Land was given to them.
You don't have to even go that far west. You had land-grant colleges all over the United States, including in the Midwest where we live, where land-grant colleges were created.
Yes.
And then we had tuition and housing set asides to educate those people. Then we had county agents teaching them how to raise corn, raise wheat, raise hogs in a way that was efficient. We had all kind of low interest and and grants, low interest loans and grants given to them to the European peasant class to bring them up to the point where they could stand around and say, "Hey, look, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps." Meanwhile, the people who did indeed pull themselves up by their bootstraps, I'm talking about the formerly enslaved Africans who under Reconstruction started to build towns, started to build schools, started to build businesses, thriving communities, saw them destroyed after 1776 at the end of Reconstruction, and then a couple generations be told, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, boy. You're just lazy, that's your problem. But again, people don't know the history. You got black folks who don't know that history. And they'll look in the mirror and say, you know what, I ain't about nothing.
Right.
Because they're too lazy to pick up a book and read.
You know.
Don't tell me you know, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to tell somebody I'm so lazy I can't even try to find out what myself.
Well, you know, there used to be a whole genre of jokes about lazy enslavement.
Oh, yeah.
Lazy enslaved Africans.
Every time you watch.
Now, you mean to tell me this man and woman works for free day in, day out, their entire life, and you catch them, you catch them relaxing and they're lazy?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, who's lazy?
You know, when you work people for 200 and some years, and then another 100 years, you know, of this partly slavery, you know, it was just different, you know.
The sharecroppers getting ripped off.
You know, maybe they're not lazy, you know.
But no, we had.
Pussy finished his work, he was resting.
We had enslavement long before.
You work all day, you need to rest too, you know.
Yeah.
Sun up to sundown, you're working.
Yeah.
And if you didn't put out what they want in what they considered enough, you might get a whooping.
And you know, during this time, man, there were black men who'd been and worked all day from sun up to sundown. Then they walk don't know how far to see the lady and his kids, you know. You know?
Yeah.
But people, you know, don't know that and don't want to recognize that, you know, so, you know, it's like.
But they know what time the ball game's coming on.
You know.
You better believe
they
it.
know who should have made the All-Star team.
Yeah, you know.
They know which team shouldn't have gotten the tournament, which one did.
We got just a few seconds. And bro, in a word, let's just tell these folks, get yourselves together. Learn about your history. Know where you came from, where you're going, and take the appropriate steps to protect your future. Get out, vote.
Well, you know, we got our people out here, post-traumatic slavery syndrome, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't think because a lot of them think that before slavery we was nobody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I always say, man, Black history in Western civilization, especially United States, is first we were enslaved.
Yeah.
And then Martin Luther King had a dream, and now it's all good.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
That's what they know.
Yeah.
Well, the dream now would become a nightmare, it seems.
Yeah. All right, man. We gonna hold it right there till next week. Okay. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and we'll catch you at the next block for more Street Talk. Peace.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.